Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Linux Cast live stream. We're going to do a podcast for you. It's going to be amazing as it always is. It's just Drew and I tonight. Nate is in the shelter. He's going through some crazy ass storms. He is in Oklahoma though, so I mean, just kind of par for the course. Oklahoma's great. Drew, I would live in pretty much every state in the union, no matter what. But there are two states where I wouldn't ever go: Florida and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And for equal reasons, hurricanes and fucking tornadoes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is not for me. Thanks. I will take my 100 inches of snow every year. Thank you very much. All right. Anyways, we're stay safe, Nate. If you're listening to this, if you're not listening to this, stay safe. Anyways, you'll catch it later. But we're gonna do our little audio test as we usually do. Make sure we're coming through the right sources and all the levels are good. So these are my words that I have to say. And Drew, if you give us some words, please.
Words and matcha green tea in a mason jar today.
Okay. YouTube is not receiving enough video. Drop frames. Amazing. Matt's having internet problems. Yeah. All right. We're just gonna have to live with it, guys. I am going to switch internet providers. I've pretty much decided. So there is fiber in my neighborhood. One gigabit symmetrical from a local ISP. It's not even that expensive. It's actually cheaper than what I pay now. So I'll start the process of that tomorrow, because I am sick of Wide Open West. They're horrible. So if you guys could let us know how that audio sounded, if you could deal with the buffering, I apologize. I don't know why it's doing it. It keeps going from green, 5,000 kilobits per second, down to nothing. So, sound is good. So we apologize for the buffering. Hopefully it evens out. It usually does it right here at the beginning and then goes on for a little while. It'll be fine. But anyways, we're just gonna assume that everything's fine and carry on. If it's just us listening to ourselves, that'd be good too. Okay. All right, let's see. So one last check. I'm recording the right screen. I have
my Audacity.
Yep. I have Zed here if I want to show it on screen. On 4. So we can do that. That'd be cool. All right. Cannot connect to your start preview. All right, we're back. Oh, goodness.
I'm going to share something with you also, Matt. This is my settings.json. Should I send it to you?
Yeah.
Just so you can take a look at it.
Yeah, you can.
Do I get like only a certain...
Unless you can always put it in the Git if you want.
Yeah, I think I will, but let me just do this in Discord for right now. Okay.
Speed test says 10 megabits per second. Technically, 10 megabits per second should be enough to stream, but with a whole bunch of other devices in the house, probably not. But we're gonna go ahead and go anyways. Sorry about the buffering. That's all I can say. Nothing negative about it. All right. Stupid fucking internet. So Drew, you sent me something, right?
Yes.
Okay. So do I upload that in the app? I'm not actually sure. I never looked at the config file actually.
Well, okay, so there are a couple things that you would want to install in the extensions in order for this to work correctly.
Okay.
The warm charm icon. So this is what, let me just share it with you right now, because I don't know if it doesn't matter if we're streaming right now or not, right?
No, No, we can make your shared screen full screen when we go. Why don't you go ahead and just wait until we start then,
Okay, sure.
and we can just talk about it. All right, all right, let's go ahead and do that then.
Let me close this one. Let's use that. Let's just do that. Okay.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead. You ready to go?
Sure.
All right, go ahead
Yeah.
and hit record
Yep.
in Audacity. Now hit record everywhere I need to and make sure I have everything on the right workspace. And you can do the claps as you please. See if I can get these in frame.
So hold on a second. Let me. I was just looking to see where the one thing that I'm not that happy about. I'm on Sway right now, and so screen sharing is not the cleanest for me, at least. Using Sway and Wayland, if I had to switch, I should have switched to DWM. And I'm pissed. Okay, let's go.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, you really have to have your portals your portals in a row on Xorg, otherwise the screen sharing sucks.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I'm not sure even what portal Sway uses. It's probably just WL roots.
Yeah. Yeah. The version is like 0.18 point whatever. Yeah.
All right. One last check to see where we're at. We're recording. Me, then Drew. Easier to remember the order tonight, Drew.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Linux Cast. I'm your host, Matt.
And I'm Drew.
Okay. We are the Linux Cast. We are going to do a podcast for you. It's going to be amazing. We're going to talk about the Zed Editor, not to be confused with the Zen Editor, which doesn't exist. Both Drew and I have made that mistake multiple times over the course of the last couple of weeks, but we're going to talk about the Zed Editor. And just to let y'all know, Nate is taking shelter because there are tornadoes. There are NATOs all over the state of Oklahoma, so he is staying safe. So Drew and I are going to carry on, but we do have a mini topic. I probably should have had that pulled up. What else is new about any of this? Matt not being prepared for a podcast. Who'd have thunk it, right? All right, so my question was, if money was absolutely no issue, like you won the lottery, you had all the disposable income you could possibly want, what is one piece of hardware that you would buy that you don't currently have?
So yeah, I'm going to do a mulligan here too, because I think what I would prefer to do, I'm going to go with a bigger monitor, like a 6K, like ultra wide monitor, most likely. But at the same time, I would like a desk that could probably handle that as well. So I don't know that I have. I mean, I have a decent sized desk. Let's not get me wrong or anything like that. But I would like one that most likely an aluminum one that kind of like raises and lowers to the height that I want and everything, like a $4,000 like desk. So those two things in combination, let's go with that.
Okay, so I probably have a desk. So like my desk is like 70 inches by 60 inches. It's an L-shaped desk, so it'd probably handle that. My original answer was gonna be like like those gigantic wall of Nate-sized monitors that you see in like setup porns. I was gonna say that, but instead, every once in a while, like on YouTube or whatever, you'll see tech YouTubers reviewing like these setup chairs. They look like lazy boy recliners, and you sit them, and you got this gigantic like ultra curved display in front of you. You sit in the chair, press a button, it leans you back, and the whole setup like goes back with you, including like the keyboard and the mouse and everything. You're just like immersed in this thing in your lazy boy recliner. You're never gonna have to leave it ever again. There's like usually like a refrigerator in the arm and stuff. That's what I'm buying.
There you go.
I'll never leave it behind if I ever go. I'll just sit there forever.
Yeah.
Nate's probably in the comments. Yeah, not enough monitors.
Well, I mentioned monitors, and Nate says monitors mentioned. I have been summoned.
He shared in our chat not too long ago, or a couple days ago, a link to a monitor that he was thinking about. It's like 4K or whatever. And it's like big. It looked good. And then I actually I think it was on my server, and my response was, yeah, I think I'll get the 1080p version of that. And I think I offended him.
Yeah.
All right. Unfortunately, I don't think either one of us are going to win the lottery. Sadly,
Yeah.
I don't play the lottery, so I can't really win it. All right. But anyways, that's your answer. In the chat, let us know if money was an option for you, what you'd buy in terms of tech. Frankly, I'd have to have, it'd be multiple things because I want a new computer. I'm going to get all this stuff. I'd go crazy, probably. I'd be one of those people that'd be broke 5 days after I won the lottery. But I'd have a lot of stuff. All right. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to our main topic, which is the Zed Editor. Now, Drew, this was your suggestion. You brought us into the Zed Editor. So why don't you first tell us what got your attention about this the most?
So most of you know, I've been using Genie and have been a massive proponent of Genie for ever. Since I've been using Linux, basically. And the one thing that is weird about this is that I looked elsewhere for something a little bit more modern, and seeing some YouTubers out there that have given their review of Zed, I thought to myself, you know what, that's worth a try. And so I have been using both. So I haven't completely switched one to the other right now, but there's some real compelling reasons to, if you have not tried Zed, to give it a shot. I will say this though, there's nothing as like simple as bringing up Genie and doing a quick like change to something. But if you are more kind of like knee deep in a in multiple files, coding, using AI, and the whole rigmarole of what I have been doing fairly, frequently lately, this could be something that you would give it a shot.
Okay. So, all right. So that's when you first mentioned this to me, I was a little skeptical because honestly, editors are kind of dime a dozen, right? There's tons of them out there. A lot of them, especially the open source ones, were coded specifically for their own developers' use case. So they have, these weird features or whatever, or they're like Kate, where like here's all the features, throw them at the wall.
Yeah.
So, some of them are really good. They, some of them just kind of feel tacked on, or they're kind of like VS Code, where you really have to delve deep into those plugins if you're gonna ever have it set up the way you want it to work, right? Out of the box,
Yep.
it's fine, but you have to do all this extra stuff. So I was a little, I was like, okay, well, I'm always up for a good editor, but I'm a little, it sounds a little, whatever. But my initial impressions of it were like, it has a Grovebox theme, so check. Matt, oh, give Matt some Grovebox, she'll like you forever. But also it was like, you know what? The UI of this is pretty good. It starts off pretty minimal, but you can kind of do things where you want it to go, and it's very intuitive to use to begin with. It has very good syntax highlighting, which not all editors do. It has really, really, really good code completion, like excellent code completion. And I didn't install anything, by the way. I just started right in on some Rust and some TypeScript, and it just knew what I was doing automatically. I didn't have to go to do any linters whatsoever, and or any LSP servers, any of that stuff. And it just started suggesting things and telling me what functions I needed to use and all that stuff, right? So that was good. And these are just like first day like experiences. I was like, you know what? this could be kind of cool. So over time, I had some more feelings, and I'll get more into those later on. But the first initial impressions were, pretty good. I mean, for an open source browser, or stupid Zen. I mean, the name is going to
That's
fuck me over every time. For an open source editor, that seems to be fairly new. Like it's within like a year or two, right? I think. So I mean, it's not like been around for a long time. So it seems very well put together. First impressions were pretty good. So yeah. So let me ask you this, Drew. What are the features of Zed that you find the most attractive?
I mean, it's kind of apples and apples when it comes to speed, because when I'm thinking about Genie, one of the things that I think people admittedly like about it is how fast it is, um, and the fact that there is extensions. Like if you are it's not throwing everything at like VS Code where you have extensions and there's plenty of like, if you want anything, it's already been kind of created. One of the things so I don't know which is, I consider Genie a lightweight IDE, whereas and sort of in the same vein as both Zed and VS Code, it is super lightweight in the fact that you can add and it is extensible. Um, One thing that I liked about it right off the bat was the markdown. Okay. So you need a markdown extension in a Genie in order to, and it actually kind of separates it out. It creates a different window, or the way I at least um, um, use my settings in Genie is to actually use the markdown previewer in a different window, and it works great. I mean, it works. I shouldn't say great, but it works. Okay. With regard to Zed and the fact that I am using it as a markdown editor in combination with Bash and things like that, if you right click on it and you just say markdown preview, it shows it in a new tab, and it looks phenomenally good compared to the Genie markdown previewer. So much better. I mean, truly so much better. What do you think about that, Matt?
I thought it was great, but pretty much for me, anything is great in terms of Markdown Preview because I use Emacs Markdown Preview, which is basically just, hey, here's some Markdown, feed it through Pandoc, and open it up in Firefox. That's
Mhm.
that's the way Markdown Preview works. So just like it would in Vim or whatever, and it's fine for what it is, but you're never gonna have anything fancy in there. So I thought it was really good. I will say that it took a little while to get into some of those settings to kind of rejigger to the way you're talking about it, but
Mhm.
it was compared to the way Markdown Preview is in Genie. Like I had when you first got me into Genie way back when, I followed through your step by step, and in order to get to the Markdown Preview, you got to install the plugin. You got to make sure you set these settings exactly the way you want them, set the key bindings exactly the way you want them, right?
Yep.
That was much more tedious, and this was just like a button or two, and then you were
Yep.
there, right? So I thought that the Markdown stuff was really good. It supports all of Markdown, which is not something you can actually say from a lot of code editors. Some code, like actually Genie itself, even with the Markdown preview, it still has a lot of trouble with some of the more esoteric parts of Markdown. So
Mhm.
this supported HTML blocks. It supported obviously links and images. It supported lists and everything. So it was very, very well done. And just add on top of that, you can do it all in Vim mode, so you can keep your Vim motions if you wanted to. And I've set it up. It was like 3 weeks ago that I set it up, but I'm pretty sure right at startup it asks you, "Hey, do you want Vim motions right during
Yeah.
startups?" Sold. Like that's great because like with like Genie again. I mean Genie's awesome. Like we don't want to come across as bashing Genie, but in order to get to the Vim stuff in Genie, you have to go delve into the settings, and it's like buried at the bottom of one of the pages. It's kind of the same with VS Code. You have to go. I mean, VS Code is horrible in terms of settings. It's like you got to go into the 5 or 6 different tabs to figure out where the Vim stuff is. Actually, you may even have to install a plugin for VS Code now that I remember about it. I can't really. It's so freaking long. But yeah, I really like the Markdown support. I went away from it after a while just because it's so much easier. What I really should have done, Drew, and I don't know if you did this or not, but I have a key binding to open up Emacs. What I should have done for a little while at least was set that key binding to Zed. Drew is frozen. Oh, now he's still frozen. You still there, Drew? I think I'm having internet problems. Can you hear me, Drew?
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you froze. I'm pretty 100%, 1,000,000% sure that it's on my end. So,
Okay, because you froze for me as well. I
Yeah.
I didn't want to touch anything until.
no, that's I did the thing. I was like, I'm backing up. I don't want to
Yeah.
ruin Jitsi. I'm surprised it actually didn't kick me out because that's what it did to begin with. Was just kick me out. Hey, this guy doesn't have enough bandwidth.
Right.
No, I don't think it's not YouTube. It's definitely Matt. I just ran a speed test and I'm down to like 4 megabits per second. So it's great. I love it. It's awesome. I love everything. That's it. But anyways, so what? All right. So let me move on. I'm kind of winging it on my questions. So what were there any features that while you were using this that you found that it didn't have that you would like to have?
I'm going to say no, because there's a short list of what I actually need in order to get my. So it was more of the features that it had that, and I don't want to, yeah, I don't want to compare. I think that that's a bad thing that we should, at least for me. Unfortunately, I feel like I have to compare it, just because I have been kind of like Genie has been my jam for so long, but it is definitely a thing where, I wanted to have it. I wanted to see what it was all about. Okay, and I wanted to really use it with AI. I have been using, on some projects, just command line, using Claude code to do some things. This is a kind of a different dynamic when you have your agent open in a side window when you're actually doing some editing. So I wanted to see what that was about. There are some similarities in the way. I mean, even we talked about before, Matt, when you said we set you up and said, "Hey, Genie, do this." Even the tree browser is a plugin that
Mm-hmm.
is directory, and then you can open multiple project directories if you want to. And so there are some really, really good features that I only discovered as I got more and more. My needs started like adding up as I was kind of like, oh, what is it? How does this work? Or how does that work? And so not only was I learning about what it could do, I was like saying, can I change my workflow to this, rather than me like trying to get it to work like Genie, which I think would have been a big mistake. Because it has so many other um, functional characteristics to its interface, to just even setting the settings.json file is incredibly powerful. So
Yeah. So I just messed around with the GUI settings, right?
yeah.
I didn't. So if you go into the file menu or whatever, I suppose I can show this on camera. If you go into the file menu, which only shows up when you do the hammer button, there's like I guess this is the Z menu. Opening settings file. I didn't scroll down that far. Like I just went into the regular settings, and so until this podcast, I didn't even realize there was a settings file. But the GUI settings are actually like all the stuff is here.
Yeah.
And it was just so easy to do. And of course, in traditional Matt fashion, there's actually a button here that says editing and settings.json. The fact that you can do both is cool because a lot of people prefer to do the config file. Some people prefer the GUI, and it's very shareable. Like you just shared your settings.json with me.
Yeah.
I could take that and theoretically use it. Now you said you had to install some plugins first in order to get there, right?
For the settings that I have, so to your point, Matt, you can just install a custom icons or custom theme in which you installed Groovebox as a custom theme. Was it already there? Wait, I'm
No, it
assuming.
was right there from the beginning.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah.
I
I haven't
have
actually I didn't even install any of the themes. It just came with like 5 or 6 of them that
okay.
are good.
So I installed Aura Dark as a theme from their extensions, and a new icon theme called Warmed Charmed Icons. And so, because I wanted to try, like, make it look as pretty as I could. And so you have the ability to change UI font size.
Yes. More internet problems. Oh, and I got kicked. That's what happens when you don't have enough bandwidth. I wonder if it kicked us both. It did. It looks like it did kick us both. All right, see if we can get Drew back on. Sorry guys about this. It's stupid. No, it kicked me again. Yay! The funny thing is now the stream on OBS is actually working fine. 5100 kilobits per second. Fortunately, something went wrong. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. All right, let's see. And now we got 2 Drews.
Oh my God.
I'm not taking credit for that one, Drew. My internet's fine now.
Okay. Well, let me kick this one out. No, I'm not.
This podcast is cursed.
Yeah. Okay, I need to log in as a moderator first. Okay.
I can make you a moderator if you want.
All right.
Oh, looks like it's gone. Okay.
Okay. Let me get this out of the way. All right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay.
At this point,
so
who knows? I might as well just laugh about it. It's fine.
Well, I'm gonna also tell you at the same time my Audacity crashed at the same time.
Oh no. That's great. Nate, can you edit this week, please? That's great. That's gonna be fine.
Okay, so I'm not going to turn it back on.
No. I think what we'll probably do is we'll just make this live stream public, and people can just watch along with it.
Yep.
They can suffer along with us. All right. Any clue what you were saying, Drew?
I don't remember. So I think, okay. So, that's what I was talking about. I was talking about the settings. And so we were talking a little bit about the customization. And so you use Groovebox out of the box, because you didn't have to actually install anything. I changed my icon theme. I changed my dark theme to something called Aura Dark. There is something called LS document colors. And so if you are somebody that uses like custom CSS and you want to see that color attached to, like, FFEE, the hex colors, there's something, and you can either set it to be a background color or an inlay, which would basically be like a square next to that color in CSS. You can, there are key bindings that you would want to get. You would want to get a little bit more comfortable with, like, I think it's Control F and Control E. Yeah, is to pop up like the options menu and stuff like that. You can also, like, say, oh, I don't want the scroll bar. So you turn the scroll bar off. There's gutters. And so anyway, there's a lot that can be done and Matt has just attested to a little while ago. It's like you can have Vim motions as well, and so yeah, um,
And if you're a crazy fool who likes the vanilla Emacs stuff, it also supports vanilla Emacs key bindings as well. Um, I don't know why anybody would want to use those, but you can.
yep,
Um, Absolutely nutters. All right, so Drew, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned in passing kind of the AI features, right? Now I know AI is not everyone's cup of tea. Some people are vehemently against it, which fair game, right? But if you do use Claude, this is
yeah,
simultaneously the best way to use Claude and kind of the worst, at least for me. So I had some really good experiences. For whatever reason, the integration to Claude in this does a better job sometimes with larger code bases than like regular Claude code does. Like it can review them better for whatever reason. I don't know why. It tends to have better output and fewer mistakes. It's weird because it should be exactly the same. It's
it
using the
should.
same model. It's using your same account and everything, right? But for whatever reason in Zed, it had much better luck in terms of doing large scale things, and because of the way it works, you can kind of watch as it goes through the files and accept or reject each section as you want to go along, which is really really nice. Usually in when you're just doing the terminal or whatever, you kind of have to go through the diffs, which can kind of get confusing, right?
Hmm.
With this was good. Now the reason why I said it was kind of the worst was because eventually as you go, if you're in like a long session, it doesn't handle compaction well at all. Um, so if you have a really long session and it gets to the point where in normal Claude code you'd have to compact the conversation, it doesn't handle that well. It just fails out. At least it did for me. Maybe I was doing something wrong. It says conversation too long, and then there's no way to get out of it. You have to
Mm,
literally close Zed and start up again, which is not great because the way Claude works in the terminal, you can at least do Claude dash dash resume, and it will get you to a previous
yep.
conversation. This doesn't have that feature, so it was while it was working, it was fantastic. But if it was too long, it always failed for me. So that was kind of a disappointing outcome. And I'd be really curious if I could ever talk to the guys who coded this, why the outcomes were different using the same AI agent, because they
Yeah,
theoretically should
that's
be the same,
fair.
right?
Yeah, that's fair. And I don't know the answer. I mean, the one thing that I noticed, when you're when you're selecting the model, basically, and we're going to use Claude as the example. I think that it is using Opus as a default, whereas most of the time you're using Sonnet for like everyday tasks, and it also has this kind of like plan mode built in, which is like really stinking good. And I think you're using quite a few of your tokens in using that, higher thinking mode. And so yeah, it's really stinking good. By the way, I mean, it's not just you can decide that you want to use Codex or anything like that as well. I mean, I have Codex, OpenAI, and you can also use that. It's just it's your pick your poison
Mhm.
basically,
Did you try? So Zed has its own like AI agent. Did you try
Yeah, and I
that?
didn't use it.
Yeah, I
No,
didn't either.
no.
Mostly because I'm so used to Claude, right? Claude is what I
Yeah.
use, and it was like, oh, this is. I mean, in fact, it didn't even ask me to sign in with Claude. It just used the credentials that were already stored on my computer. So I just hit the button and it worked right out of the box. That was an amazing experience because I actually thought for a while because it felt because it was my first experience with plan mode because plan mode wasn't in code when I first started using this. Now it is. Like if you want to use it in the terminal, plan mode is there. But when I
Mhm.
first started using it, it wasn't because it just came to NixOS or whatever just a few days ago. So my first experience with plan mode was within code, and it was within Zed, and it made it feel like I was getting more out of usage when it came to Claude inside of Zed. Then I was like, how am I still using it? Regular Claude would have eating up my usage, an hour ago.
Yeah.
It was a very weird experience. Um, I think my favorite part of it was though the ability to see it do its changes like live as it was going through each of the files. That was really cool because I mean a lot of times, especially because in the terminal it'll show you like the snippets of what it's changing, and it'll give you the file like path.
Hmm.
And because you have it inside of the code editor, it actually like you can go to the file and actually see it make the changes, and you know what's surrounding it. Whereas you don't usually get that context when you're using regular Claude code. And I mean, I've been learning TypeScript and Rust over the course of the last little bit, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of times when you go ask Claude a question about one of those things, it will give you this snippet of code, like here, change this or whatever, and it'll give you a little bit of an explanation, but the context is usually lacking. This felt a lot, well, you still had, not great explanation, but at least you were able to see what the code that was surrounding it and kind of why it was making the changes. Whereas, with regular stuff, you'd only see what it was deleting, basically.
Hmm.
So let me ask you this question. I know you said you didn't want to compare, but
Yeah.
in term, I think we have to compare because I mean, this
Yeah,
is
no, it's
right.
fair. I mean, I think you have to compare it to what you're normally used to in terms of like, if I'm just going to have to compare it to Genie. You can compare it to a lot of things that you've tried in the past, including your
Emacs,
wh-
yeah.
yeah, Emacs. I was going to say. I was thinking, do you use org mode? I don't think you use org
I
mode or
don't
anything.
use org mode. No,
Yeah.
I use Markdown for everything.
Right. Right.
Um, so how would you? So if you were to write up one of your fancy documentation things on Git, and you were
Yeah.
making a comparison side by side, how would that play out? Do you have like a favorite between these two now? Have you used long enough to be able to decide, I like this one better?
If you're just talking about Markdown, yeah. So if you're just talking about Markdown, I think there's no comparison. I think that Zed has it like hands down a better kind of experience in terms of a preview as well as auto completion and things like that. There's just no. It's full. It's got a lot of it's got a lot of tools that you can use, and I think that I think that I still use it about 50-50, and I don't know why, honestly. I just think that it's kind of like ingrained in me, super E. That opens up my editor, and unless I really unless I feel like confident that I'm gonna be using a lot of, Zed going forward, I'm gonna have to change my keybind to super E for Zed. Is right now it's super Z. And so yeah, I think that that's just going to have to happen though. But at the same time, you know, Markdown, if that's the only criteria, there's probably a lot better solutions out there. This is something in addition to, like, if I wanted to do Markdown as just a Markdown editor. I mean, there's Ghostwriter, there's Iotis, there's all kinds of stuff out there that was that one that used to be really good, Mark Text.
hmm
Um,
Is that? I don't think that's still.
so there was it actually became abandoned, but then somebody forked it, and I think that's the one and I'm that's the extent of my knowledge about that. Somebody forked it and has been like doing something with that. But Mark Text was a really good, you know, markdown editor, like really good.
Yeah. Uh, all right. So for me, it's a hard question because at the beginning of this, when we were talking before we started, I mentioned I was going to be a little bit narcissistic and make it about me, and this is where I finally do that. So Zed is fantastic. I think it's really really good. I love the code integration. Obviously, I was glowing talking about Claude there just a couple minutes ago. I think the Markdown preview stuff is amazing. I like the Vim integration in terms of the bindings. I like the theming. I like the default tree along the side. I like all of it. I have very few negative things to say about it, but I've spent the last 7 months perfecting my Emacs configuration. It would take a nuclear sized event to get me to go away from it. Um, and it's not because Emacs is significantly better or significantly worse. It's just I've put that effort in, right? And there are certain things that you built in when especially like Drew, it'd be kind of like switching to a different launcher. You have all these scripts probably for Rofi, right?
Yeah.
And I have scripts for to make new blog posts of several different types for every single blog I have. I have scripts to make different kind of notes. I have all of them feeding into Rofi and then eventually into Emacs. Now, theoretically, I probably could get that all to work with Zed. I don't know how I'd do it, but it's probably theoretically possible. But it's already done for Emacs. So my biggest problem with any new editor, like you could point me towards the god tier editor. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It could have all the features. It could have every theme. It could have key binding, theme switching. It could have support every single language under the sun. It could provide free Claude code for life. I still have a hard time switching to it because I've done all this stuff in Emacs. And there's just some things like buffers that it's really hard to get away from when you're switching between different files. Now, Zed has tabs. I mean, Emacs has tabs too, but I usually use buffers. And the way you can just go through and with key bindings and switch back and forth between documents really, really easy without having to deal with tabs if you don't want them. And just the workflow, I'm so used to now the way that I work in Emacs that it's hard to switch to something else. So despite my actually admiration for what Zed is, it would be hard for me to say this is where I could switch to. And I can't compare. Like you can compare Genie and Zed because they're both GUIs, right? I mean, technically Emacs is a GUI too, but it looks terminal, right? They both have plugins, they both have all that stuff, right? With Emacs, it's really hard to compare Emacs to anything else. Like it's even hard to compare Emacs to Vim because of just how different they really are. And it's not something that I really ever got before I switched to Emacs, because everybody's like, well, Emacs isn't really an editor, it's a Lisp interpreter. And I was like, yeah, okay, but it's an editor. Like we all know it. But once you actually get into like, okay, yeah, I kind of get it. It's not an editor. It's more than that. God, I need to get myself a hat. Like I'm an Emacs fanboy now. What the hell happened? But yeah, so it's really hard for me to say, compare these two, and like, I'll ask later whether or not I would kind of already asked if you're going to switch, but for me personally, like it's just would be really hard for me to make that switch, despite all the good things that Zed has to offer. Now, let me ask you this question. What do you think, actually, let me just flat out ask you, are you planning on making that switch to Zed full time, or are you going to keep your kind of bifurcation as you have now?
Likely, I guess is the answer. Likely, because I don't. It feels a little icky, like saying, "Yeah, I'm just gonna like shelve Genie." Going forward, the truth of the matter is, I think that there is still a use case for having Genie on my machine and using it at times. When it comes to anything that is more labor intensive, then I think that this is the way I should go. 100%. And like I said, I think that there's some real benefits to using something that has the feature set that this does. So to answer your question, likely.
So VS Code is obviously not open source. They do have like a VS Codium like exists or whatever, but
Yeah.
it's still based on a proprietary thing, and is subject to being shut down if Microsoft ever decides to sue them out of existence, right? Have you used VS Code or VS Codium, somewhat recently?
No, it's been about 2 years since I've tried Codium, and it's weird because it was kind of the same needs, Matt. When I did my Zettler review 2 years ago, and I said, "Hey, I'm going to use Zettler for note taking." VS Code, or Codium is what I should say, was part of that like video. And because I wanted to see if using something as heavy handed as Codium was going to provide the necessary skill, or feature set rather, that would get me like doing a lot better in terms of organization, note taking, and that. I didn't think about bash scripting one bit 2 years ago, other than what I was currently kind of like playing with. And I've gotten in those 2 years, I think I've gained a lot of, I don't want to, I don't want to like overstate, but I've gained quite a bit of familiarity. Maybe that's the best way to describe it. Some familiarity in bash scripting, that I can actually get something accomplished.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked is because I have used VS Codium fairly recently, and it is a mess. It always has been a mess. It's like I'm honestly surprised that they don't have like a plugin store where they charge you money for plugins, because it kind of feels like that's where they were going towards. But it also offers a lot. I mean, if you were to compare Zed and VS Code together, now obviously VS Code has a much larger selection of features in terms of things that you can add to it, because
Mm-hmm.
it's older, has a lot more developers pointed towards it, all that stuff, right? But you can, in theory, equal these two things out. Now, the reason why I bring it up is because that I think that is, most people aren't going to be choosing between Zed and Genie, or Zed in
Right.
Emacs, right? They're going to be choosing between VS Codium or VS Code and
Fair.
Zed, right? So if you're making that choice, really what it comes down to is the plugins that you need. Now, like I said, I've been doing TypeScript and Rust. Those languages were supported out of the box. I didn't have to do anything about it. Now, I also did a little bit of bash scripting, not a ton, but a little bit. That was also supported really well right out of the box. You probably got more experience with the bash scripting, Alice servers and stuff than I did. Drew, it supported autocomplete and everything right out of the box, right, for bash,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
So that, I'm assuming it probably does the same thing for C, C++, all the major languages. So baskets to baskets, those two things seem to be fairly equal right out of the box. You can get Zed to also do that cool auto completion, like if you're doing the like at the beginning of an HTML document, there's that
Mhm.
the header or whatever that you have to put in
Yeah.
there. With VS Codium, you can like do small text expander things that you can have it fill all that stuff out for you. Zed can also do that with a plugin. So you can get very close in both of these applications to having them be equal. I think it's going to be very much, if for some reason you are in the Copilot,
Mhm.
ecosystem, like you're into the Copilot stuff, VS Code is going to be the where you're going to want to go, because that's where Copilot lives. It's favorite thing. You know, obviously they're both developed by the same company, all that stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know if Zed would work with Copilot. I didn't actually look to see, so I can't say if it can or can't. I don't think it does. I think it's just Claude and its own, and I think it has Olama. Doesn't it have Olama?
I think, well, yeah, I think that that's probably my, um, I'd have to go and look. I think that I probably have not gone through the entire AI kind of like, interface. The one thing you can do, well, the one thing I did want to say real quick though is, let's say you don't want AI at all. You can just turn it off.
Yeah, I was actually showing that right here on screen. You guys can actually, there's a button here that says disable AI, and it was all go away.
Yeah, it's
Um,
gone. You could just like turn it off
mhm.
completely, which is, I think there's a lot of people that will just like, yeah, that's what I want. I don't want anything to do with it, and I want to turn off any setting that provides that. And your agent side, your agent goes away, and all that stuff. So you can just turn it off.
Yeah, so anyways, if you are in the Copilot ecosystem, VS Code is where you're gonna want to go. If you're in the Claude Code ecosystem, I think Zed is. I think it's the first editor that I've ever tried that has it built in. I know there are a couple others, but I've never tried them. It was really good here, right? So, I will ask this, Drew. Did you sign? So one of the things that's really weird, and I know that turns a lot of people off, is when open source applications have accounts that you have to sign up for. Did you sign up for like a Zed account?
No, but I am logged in using my GitHub account. And that would suffice. So I don't use GitHub anymore, but I went ahead and logged in because I wanted to see um, there is a collaboration panel, and you can use, if as long as you're like logged into GitHub, you can, like, if Matt and I wanted to share some code, we could actually log in and collaborate on a piece of code using their like collab panel, as long as both of us have logged in using, let's just say, GitHub. I did not try that, so I can't speak to how, like, cool that is or anything like that. I'm just saying that that functionality is there.
Mm. If we trusted my internet more, we go ahead and try it out right here now, live on the
Well,
podcast.
yeah, let's not do that.
um,
But I would be curious to see what you've done in terms of like what the UI you've got looking at it and so on.
I have mine on screen. I haven't done too much.
Oh, are you sharing it? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, it's on. I actually am not sharing it with you, Drew. I'm sorry, man. Let's see if I can. All right, I'll share this with you.
Okay.
Okay. You're gonna just see me here for a minute. But let me go here. So this is
There we
basically
go.
mine's basically just this, right? It's not much in terms of like I have all this Rust stuff here along the side. This is from my homepage application that I've been going through, right? And it's basically the way it was out of the box. I haven't done too much in order to change it. I've changed the theme, and I have everything because this is the way I have my Emacs, right? I have Emacs set up so that I can do the kind of the same thing, right? It's just kind of
Mhm.
has the um, thing along the side when I need it and goes away when I don't. So I just have it kind of set up the same way here, and then I've been using tabs along the top
Mm.
instead of buffers. So and I did notice the collaboration thing here, but again, I don't do a lot of code collab with a lot of people. So, but
Yeah.
we probably should have, if we'd mentioned that, we could have tried it out. But the cool thing is, like, a lot of times if you're in like a markdown thing, I don't have one here to open to share, but it gives you like the table of contents or whatever they're along the side.
Mm.
um and then the the Claude Code stuff here alongside is just, I love how it's side by side. I think I know I keep going back to that, but the idea of being able to see the entire code base along the side and the AI stuff that you're doing in the conversation all in one app is just it's entirely different workflow than going to a terminal and talking to Claude, right? It's just
Mhm.
completely different. So I think that Zed is going to maintain on my computer because of the AI integration. Even though I probably won't use it for regular editing, when I need to use Claude, I find myself going in there more often than I use regular Claude Code. Um,
Mm.
so, uh,
Let me show you what I've got here, Matt, as well, if you don't mind.
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to share my screen window. This
If
share.
you're listening on the audio version, make sure we'll leave a link to the YouTube video. You can kind of come check and see this out. But that is an awesome theme, by the way, Drew. That's cool.
So I don't know if we're sharing it on
Yep,
YouTube
yep. You
as
can.
well.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can see it's it's a little bit behind, I think, because of all the buffering.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, it's there.
So I'm looking at my settings.json, and a lot of the things that I mentioned, you can actually add. So if I'm looking at the icon theme, let me actually just expand this a little bit. So you could have colors in terms of, like, there's an install.sh over here. I could let me do this real quick. I'm gonna change the UI size to, like, say 20, and let's change the buffer size to 24. Okay, and let's save that. So now you can probably see that changed the entire interface basically. So anything in the left nav that you're looking at is now you can like like I said, I changed it to a 20 font as opposed to anything that's in text here is a 24 font. If you want, like, let's just say I want to go over here for a second, or actually, let's look at it this way. Okay, this is just my a BSPWM configuration file. So basically, it's Bash. Okay, and you say, you know what, I want a different line height, and you say, let's just make it 2.65. All right. So if I save that, okay, you can see how spread this is now in terms of like how much space you have in between each line. So you have quite a bit control. I'm going to change this back because that's absolutely stinking annoying.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have a lot of control over this. I use this warm charmed icons for my left, for all these icons that you're seeing over here, including you see that there's a, config.pycon. Let me just go ahead over here. Let me close this. And so you can see a lot of the color of the code and how you can, you have a lot of control over that. What was I going to say though? Oh, I'm using an Aura dark theme. I used IU light. I'm not going to show a light theme here. Okay. But when it comes to this LSP document colors inlay right there, you're going to look at right here, for example. This is the inlay. And so it shows like a box of what the color is for that particular hex character. Okay.
Is it like is it like in some editors where you can actually click on that box and it'll bring up a color picker?
You know what? I don't. This is just the example. So,
Yeah, click on the box.
oh,
Yeah. No, it doesn't. In some editors, like you click on that, it'll actually allow you to use it
what
like
was
a
that a
color
second
wheel.
ago? Though I thought you could do something with it. Oh, color picker, right there. Oh, oh. Okay. I'm sorry. So it
It,
didn't.
it opens in another window,
Yeah, it
right?
opened up. Yeah, it opened up in a
That's okay.
browser. Okay.
Oh, in the browser of all things. Okay,
Yes.
that's okay.
So as far as file finder, if you use control F, or no, that's actually it's control E. Okay. So you have control over and say, oh, I want to search for this particular file in this project. And yeah, there's a lot of files in my Codeberg projects. It's like there's 19 repos in here, and you can do a search for a specific file out of all of these 19 repos. Okay. There's also, if you say, I don't want the scroll bar, you don't have to have the scroll bar. You just say show never. Okay. There's a gutter over here, and a lot of times it gets very large. So you just say, I don't want, oh, sorry, gutter. And so you just say, I want it as small as possible.
No,
You can also,
hold on a second, Joe. For those of you guys who aren't in the know, gutter's the thing that shows up in text editors that show the differences in your Git status.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
And then over here, like Matt was kind of like showing as well, you have this agent UI, and you can say the font size, and I want it to be 14 or and then 16, or so you can make this agent size any font size that you want. So if it's too small, because right out of the box it's pretty small, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Um, so you can actually change the font size for this. I just went ahead and put Vim mode as false, just in case if somebody like, because I will probably post this settings.json somewhere on my Codeberg in case somebody wanted to replicate this. And then that way, if they wanted to, they could just turn this to true. The other thing is, if you have show white spaces as none. So if Matt was to like do this and just highlight something, okay, it's actually going to show like dot dot, and there will be like spaces. And then so if you don't want to see the dot dot spaces in the text editor, you can just turn this to false. So don't show the spaces basically. And so, yeah. And then there's one thing, I'm kind of taking too much time basically,
No,
but
I think this is great because I never went through the file. I remember I did the GUI part. So
okay. So like if I wanted to just go ahead and say, keep closing with no tabs. So if I closed everything, it would just like, there would be an empty space there. Whereas most other text editors, if you close the last tab, it actually closes the entire instance of your editor. And so this keeps it on after closing everything. As far as README, this is the one thing. Let me go over here. Okay. And so if I just right click and say open in Markdown preview, okay, this is what that preview would look like. Okay. And so I can also just say, oh, look, I just want to, um, this is an option. Okay. And so right here, it's also showing the fact that since this is something that has a this is part of a Git repo, it shows that that has been altered. And so I can then, like if I wanted to, I could go and then Git push this change up to, my code burger or what have you. And also if I made that change, it also shows up as a live in the live preview, that change. I don't hope that made sense. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I've taken a lot of time. Sorry, dude.
let me ask you this question, and I think I know the answer. But how much of your enjoyment of Zed do you think is just simply because it has a lot of the stuff out of the box, whereas with Genie you had to set most of the stuff up on your own?
Um, a fair bit, a fair bit. By the way, this is really cool. So I just wanted to mention this real quick. It says it shows when this line was added to this README file. It says I put this in here 10 months ago. So yeah, to answer the question, I think that a fair bit. One thing that I do with Genie is I actually have an installation that installs all the settings that I use to the user's .config, so that if you wanted to use Genie and have it look the way I have it look, you can simply do that install, and it just moves everything over to where it needs to go as far as the settings is concerned. And you'll have those plugins, and you'll have the keybinds that I change and stuff like that. Now, there are some things that, like if I was looking at this, config.py or py, whatever you say, this Python file, I should say it that way. This is my configuration for Qtile. Okay. It's not going to look like this, on Genie. So and then you could probably, I think you could actually run this, Matt, right from, I'm not sure. I think you can actually do a lot more with things like, yeah, like Python or Bash or something like that. But the fact is, Genie is great when it comes to simplicity and speed. This has a lot more features. Does it have the same feature set that like VS Code does? Probably not. Would I use this over VS Code every single freaking day? So and not to mention, you can, like, I think we should talk about the extensions for a minute. Like if you're using HTML, it'll actually, like, if you pulled up an HTML file in um in Zed, it will ask you, hey, do you want to install this? It will ask you, do you want to install, so that you can, have that color highlighting and stuff like that. It will ask you for that. And so I've added, it's like, oh, I need this TOML file, and so it will ask you, do you want to install that TOML support? And so there are, does it have extensions? Yes. Is it like super complete? Ish. I don't know. I mean, is it as heavy handed as VS Code? No. But I'm going to get, I'm not missing anything, I guess is my point, right, Matt?
Mhm.
You know?
So I think overall, just for me, I have a hard time because of the whole Emacs thing, but there's so many little things about Zed that I do like. So I think it will stick around. I just don't know that I will be using it much. Like I'll probably use it for Claude and then go edit elsewhere. It's gonna be really weird for workflow because it'd be switching, be like using two editors at the same time. But um, overall, just my final thoughts on Zed. I think it's really good. I think if you can, if there aren't things specifically you need about VS Code, Zed is a great place to look. If you're into especially if you're into Cloud Code, Zed is a great place or a great thing to use. I think that if you are if you like things like Kate or Genie or whatever, Zed is something you might try. It may not end up fitting your workflow. It may have things that you don't actually need, and you might prefer your old way of doing it. But there's nothing there that's going to offend you in terms of using it. So I think that for a lot of people, it's good to try. And I would just my one warning for people is I would not be turned off by the big sign in button on the top of the title bar because I know that's going to turn a lot of people off. Like, oh, this thing's going to make me sign up for an account. Not once did it ever actually prompt me to do anything other than sign in. It just the button was there. That's all it did. It never there was no pop-ups, nothing like that. It didn't say, "Oh, you've been using this for 14 days. You have to create an account." There was nothing like that. It's simply there for collaboration. So, and you never have to sign in if you don't want to. All the features are there other than collaboration. So don't let that scare you away. That's like my one warning. So, Drew, what are your final? You have a wrap up that you want to talk about?
No, I feel like I've wrapped quite
Okay. Yeah.
quite a bit here. Like I said, is it going to be for everybody? No. I mean, Genie's not for everybody. Zed's not going to be for everybody. And whatever you're comfortable in, there's a reason why you have some type of comfortability, whether you be an Emacs user, whether it be a NeoVim user or what have you. There is going to be that level of comfort that you're probably not going to switch, but it does give me pause to say, oh wow, yeah, I can use this. So yeah, I like I said before, I think that I have been using this a little bit longer than Matt and Nate, but at the same time, um, uh, I haven't completely like hung up my Genie my Genie config at all. So yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. So there is your Zed review. I used the word review in the title, but you know, it's not all encompassing. I think when it comes to editors, they're kind of like, favorite shoe brands. Everyone's going to have their own favorites, how you set it up, and maybe this doesn't set up the way you want to, but I think it's one that you should definitely give a try. Open source, has all these files and stuff like that. So there you go. All right, let's go ahead and move into the nuggies of the week real quick. The Nuggies is our last section of the podcast. We do it every single week. Basically, these are things that we have discovered or that we'd like to share, tips, tricks, apps, whatever that we'd like to share. So, Drew, your Nuggie of the week.
I did a video. I'm not even sure when it was, Matt. I think it was about a week ago. I did a second video on Zettler. It was 2 years in between those two videos. And one of the things that I mentioned on that video is something called Markdown Loader. Is that right? Is that I wrote it down? Markdown Loader. It is an extension for both Firefox and Chrome. And when you want to just kind of have your own web clipper, depending on what notes you want to use, this could be like an answer for a web clipper, so that you don't have to use like Evernote or some of these kind of like proprietary web clippers. This is open source. This is something that you may want to take a look at. Mark Downloader is the name of the extension.
That's cool. All right, so mine's going to be a little of a weird one. So mine is OVH Cloud. Now, OVH Cloud is a web host provider of all things, but I was using, what was I using? I bought 2 years of Hostinger for a VPS, and it was fairly reasonable. I think I paid like $200 for 2 years, so it wasn't bad. And then I got an email like a couple months ago saying they were tripling the price. So I was like, yeah, nope, not doing that. Mainly because I wasn't using it for anything anyways. But then when I decided I was going to set up a bridge between Matrix and Discord, I needed a place where I knew I could afford to stay on and actually, have all the resources and stuff that I need. So I signed up with a service called OVH Host, and I got a full year for $120. And that's 24 gigabytes of RAM and 200 gigabytes of storage and unlimited bandwidth. The unlimited bandwidth was what I was really looking for, because I was really worried about the bridge taking up a ton of bandwidth. And so far I've been, it's not the easiest to set up. I will say that. It doesn't have proper account creation in their web backend, so it just creates you an account when you install. You can't change distros on your server if you want, as far as I can tell. Maybe I'm just not missing it, but whatever you choose at sign up, that's what you're with. Now you can reinstall, you just can't change distros. Don't know why. It's weird. But it's fairly cheap. It has worked very well, at least so far, for the bridge. I've put a few more things up there now that I host for like my cross poster for Mastodon and Blue Skies up there. I've put a couple other things up there now in Docker containers, and they just work really well. So yeah, if you're looking for a web host, really cheap, like $120 for 2 years, and with some pretty good stats. So that is my nuggie of the week. So that is it for this one. A couple things. First off, if you watch us live, several apologies for the constant ups and downs in terms of the internet. I will work on it. I promise. I have been working on it. It's time to bring out it's time to get out the, hey, wow, yeah, I'm switching internet providers. Come on, fix this. If you don't, you're not here in the next 2 days, I'm switching. Anyways, so apologies for that. And also, we are quickly approaching like summer vacation season and stuff like that. So our schedule is going to be, at least my schedule is going to be a little wonky in the summer, because I have a new job. It starts in May. So be prepared for some nights off. I'm just going to point you that way. It's not going to be like probably I'm going to aim for 3 a month for sure. We'll try to do 4. We'll see how it goes. I don't really know what my schedule is going to be yet, but I just kind of want to warn people way ahead of time. Another thing is we have a lug coming up on Thursday. I am really looking forward to the internet during that. I think it's going to be great.
Wow.
If I could live, it'd probably be the best thing to do. Actually, in the stream, you can join the Discord server to find out all the details for the Linux user group. If you're watching the recorded version of this, like after that, we do 2 lugs a month. You can check out the times for those on the Discord server or on our GitHub page or Git page. So if you want to get in contact with us, the best way to do so is via email to linuxcast.org. That's the email address. You can find all of our contact information on the website, thelinuxcast.org/contact. Drew is Just a Guy Linux on YouTube. He posts videos on scripting and Debian and window managers and all sorts of stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, which you should be if you're watching my channel, by the way, head on over there, give him a subscribe, watch all of his videos. They're amazing. So check that stuff out. Nate, who's not here, is Nate Picks Tech World. He is staying safe from all the tornadoes and the flying cows. I can't not make that joke. It's going to happen over and over again. I can't even come up with any other jokes because it'd just be bad. But you probably shouldn't make jokes when people are in tornadoes, but I can't help myself. So stay safe, Nate. Stay safe, everybody who's going through all this crazy freaking weather, because it's supposed to be up here next. So anyways, that is it for us this one. We will catch you guys next week.